Trump might well choke on a McNugget and pass in 6 months. But whoever he puts on the Supreme Court, and he likely will get at least one of those, maybe two, they're going to stick around a lot longer.
Choke on a McNugget, indeed. John Iadarola talks to Sharon Reed in this clip from the Damage Report about Trump's likely ability to appoint additional justices to the Supreme Court and some of the long-lasting effects that might have on our society. We're going to chop it up. John Iadarola has a lot more to say here, Sharon Reed as well. We are going to break it all down. We're going to listen to what they've got to say. I have some thoughts of my own that I'm going to share with you, but let's jump into it.
No, the Supreme Court, with the Senate going red and with Trump at this point more likely than not to be elected, still not a sure thing. But if he's elected, then he gets the appointment. And with the Senate going Republican, whomever he wants is going to end up on the Supreme Court. That is about as big an impact as you can have this election evening, because there are a couple justices that probably will be retiring in the next year or two.
So the potential chance to replace Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, or at least stop Trump from doing it, that was one of, I think, the biggest stakes in the election. And that has not changed simply because it didn't go the right way. Donald Trump was able to win. He got the Senate. He will appoint whoever he wants. And by the way, with a Senate that now has basically no voices of opposition to him, God help us on who he's actually going to choose. Will they even be a lawyer? I don't know. Will they have ever served as? I have literally no idea. They could be a kick streamer. You think?
You know, I think at this point, it's unlikely that Trump would appoint somebody who is not already a judge on the short list of the Heritage Foundation. There's just plenty of quote unquote qualified judges on the right that are already lined up to go. I mean, technically, I suppose that's a possibility, but I don't see that happening.
Marco Rubio is going to stand up against it. I literally have no idea. Nobody does. They will likely not be qualified. They will likely have given him a pledge of loyalty. They're likely to be Christian radicals trying to help him achieve some sort of theocracy that he feels he needs to deliver for evangelical voters. They will likely be very young. This is consequential, and I would love to just not talk about it so that you don't have to feel bad. But whoever, here's a depressing thing for me personally. Whoever he puts on the Supreme Court to replace Clarence Thomas will be on the court until after I'm done reporting the news. Like that's a harsh reality. I'm going to try to improve my diet. Maybe I can mess with those numbers a little bit, but that's almost certainly the case. It's one of the most consequential things to come out of this. Trump can be replaced in 4 years. Trump might well choke on a McNugget and pass in 6 months, but whoever he puts on the Supreme Court, and he likely will get at least one of those, maybe two, they're going to stick around a lot longer, Sharon.
So I agree with this. There's also the possibility that, as is looking likely at the time of this recording, that the Republican Party is going to win the House as well as the Senate, in which case, you know, all kinds of things could be possible. They could amend the Constitution. They could enact the kind of court reform that, you know, Biden and the Democrats were talking about. They don't need to. They won't need to. It will have a firmly conservative majority for the foreseeable future. But I think that John makes a good point here in that, you know, these changes are going to long outlast Trump himself. Trump, as an individual, whether he adheres to a single term, he's immortal. It feels like nothing could kill this guy. But the truth of the matter is that sooner or later, this party is going to have to figure out what comes after Trump. That appears to be J.D. Vance. But now that this election, this litmus test has happened, and they have been given their self-pronounced mandate by such an overwhelming win, long-lasting change, like a real political paradigm shift in America, is looking very likely, and that is going to play out over decades and decades to come.
What do you think?
Well, he'll get two because he will buy Clarence Thomas out and he will force someone out. So he may get more than that. Who knows? He'll make it so untenable. Maybe perhaps he'll defund the air conditioning units too in the liberal justices' chambers. I don't know. But this is what I mean by the mandate. And perhaps I shouldn't keep using that ugly word, but I heard someone on mainstream television last night talking about how if the House goes the Democrats' way, Hakeem Jeffries will become the most important stopgap in the nation's capital. And I'm thinking, really? I mean, I like the way he raps and all, but it's not that it's too much to overcome. It doesn't mean there won't be victories, but there's not even enough left with a backbone. Okay. You're not going to get a Susan Collins or these, where you can kind of pull them aside and say, come on, decency, just a little bit must prevail. You're going to have people who are fearful to even hiccup in dear leaders' presence. So yes, the Supreme Court will live for 70 more years, okay, in the form and shape of Donald Trump. And we will all be worse off for it.
Yeah, and it will likely be even more explicitly corrupt than it is now. Billionaires already know that there's no consequences even when we discover that they bought off justices, so they'll do that even more.
And it's easy to miss in this clip, but Sharon Reed does make a comment there that I think is really worth underlining out loud. So the corruption and the money in politics and the influence that that's been having, billionaires like Elon Musk being directly involved in the government, which being in charge of agencies that regulate his own companies, there has been this semi-lip service to, oh, no, this is not what it looks like, and it's all legal, and this is still democratic. There's no need for that anymore, right? The messaging instead will become, hey, don't look at the left hand. Focus on what the right hand is doing. Is now just going to be like, well, this is good. This is the way it should be, and this is what you voted for, and you're welcome.
Maybe he'll just put one of the billionaires on the court. Make it direct. I mean, why have them actually have to go on vacation with the billionaires to find out what the ruling elites want out of the court? Why not just put the ruling elites on the court? Put Elon Musk on there. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. And even if they keep the house, look, the Democrats keeping the House can be consequential in a lot of different ways, although I would also change the leadership there. Not in this area. They have nothing to do with it.
That's a good point.
So, unfortunately, we have to be real. We have to be real. And I know that that'll turn some people off. And I know that you'll feel an impulse, an understandable impulse to turn to someone who's going to tell you lies that feel good. But that doesn't actually solve any problems historically.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously we're all trying to process this change and it feels like it's racing along. But, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are here. It's unlikely he's going to appoint Elon Musk to anything in the government, much less the Supreme Court. Elon Musk has, too much to deal with his businesses. But obviously there's a lot to process. So, again, chime in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. I mean, we're going to have to get through this together, folks.